There's been a horrible accident, I said hastily. I don't know what happened. Corcoran's eyeless skull gawked, his lower jaw having sagged more since I first found him, making it look like his corpse was trying to scream. His body is just a casing to be discarded, the man said softly. What's important is that you will not deny him burial in the method we prepared for him. We're his protectors. Stop us from doing his will and you'll be harmed. His transition has come and we are ready. Go back in the house. No one needs to know.
Knife Point Horror. Tales of supernatural suspense written, produced, and narrated by Soren Narnia. Now transmitting from Spectre Vision Radio, anywhere you hear podcasts.
Spectre Vision Radio.
Telemetry and launch condition.
Well, some other observers are...
Hey, it's late night.
It's late night on the astral plane, where it's never too late. With your host, Brian Singer.
It's more fun to believe.
Hey everybody, welcome. I don't know what that word is. Welcome to another voyage of late night on the astral plane. I got everybody's favorite Karen Rontowski, the host of Paranormal Karen, of course, stand-up comedian, psychic stand-up creator, which has just been keeping you really, really busy out there on the road these days. Isn't that right?
I've been very happy with that. Psychic stand-up, coming to a show near you somewhere. Wherever you are, I'm coming there. I'm coming to get you.
You should check the website out for sure, because you've got dates up into next year on your website.
Yeah. And I think just tarot is so in, everything's coming together. Met the right person. I'm actually going to be in Ohio as well. Cincinnati, Dayton, and am I in Cincinnati? I shouldn't say this. I don't know. It's on my website, but I try not to get overwhelmed. You know how travel can get overwhelming. So I try to, every day I buy one ticket for one thing or something. And then last week I spent 3 hours trying to figure out how to fly into Paso Robles, California. And it turns out I live 3 hours from there. Why would I fly to San Jose to rent a car to drive down to? It was like, what am I doing?
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, that's a good problem to have, I guess. But
yes,
I'm curious about your opinion about that with in regards to tarot. Because if you haven't seen the psychic stand-up show, Karen, who's been reading tarot for a long time for people, and is really, you got to get a reading from Karen if you've never had a tarot reading from her. First and foremost, she incorporates that into her live performance to her stand-up comedy, and it's a bonkers show. People absolutely love it, and that's why it's selling out at places. And I think you definitely need to go check it out. So you need to go to
psychicstandup.com
psychicstandup.com
or Rontowski.com. Yep.
Okay. My brain kind of froze. I was like, what is happening here? I don't know what voice that is. I don't know if I've ever done that voice before, but I've got new people coming through lately, so we're just gonna have to accept that. I'm drinking some coffee because I took an unexpected 20-minute nap over here, and
I got tea because I'm sleeping all the time now.
Yeah, and so you said you had a theory about that?
So all paranormal people or metaphysical people or readers or whatever, we seem to be like really tired all the time. And now I'm starting to see that pop up online. And I think it's a couple of things, but and we're going to jump right into the crazy, Ryan. We're jumping right in. Um disclosure is coming. Like people will, I think, in the next year or two, we're all going to visually see aliens. And some people have been able to see them, but I feel like there are these weird changes around the planet right now, and the planet is changing its frequency so that everyone will see them. Does that make sense how I said that?
Yeah, it does.
Because I think
And
some people, yeah, and I don't know how my therapist does this, but she measures your body frequency through brain waves. And she said it was the first time in February that people started coming in that they were above 700. And I was like at 695. So she hooked some things up to my head. And now I'm 745.
so the higher the better, I'm guessing. I'm
Yes.
hoping. Okay,
As,
okay.
as it with most things in life, the
Yeah.
higher the better.
Yeah,
Can't
with
you
as
see? Did you see how fuzzy, how like frequency I'm better?
Yeah, you look like you have a fake background.
I do, and I don't know why, because it's a real background, but it's taking my
Yeah, I'm
no,
saying
it's
like so there is something to this maybe. I mean, because I'm like, oh
oh
wait, why would I was like, unless Karen is like in some like location unknown, she doesn't want me to know about she or people like this is let's just put like let's put like a door with in a wall.
and a dirty sweatshirt.
Yeah, I'm
These are
like, so
very
that's it.
expensive backgrounds I've purchased for
Yeah, so
this.
but it's real. Okay, and it's around your head. So,
Yeah, it's right there. I don't know if it's because it's going through to the bedroom.
maybe it's the vibrations, the frequency.
It could be 7:45. You never know.
I just saw I was at the Haunted America conference. I was there to see my buddy Matthew Jackson was doing who you met at Post Town.
Yes,
Um, God, he told me a funny story about that the other day. So,
about Post Town. I want to hear.
no, about meeting us at Post Town.
Oh,
But the because I'm pretty sure that's the time I met Matthew. Was that trip that when you're driving across the country, you pop in.
yeah.
I feel I can't. My timelines are all janky, but and he goes, I didn't know if I was being pranked because there's two comedians and a haunted school. Uh, and then that's when Courage was there, and then we get on the phone with Sonia, and then all this crazy stuff, and then like actually getting like information. So he's like, "What is happening here?" Like two comedians and another psychic on a telephone with a dog, and he's like, "I don't." It was a really wild, fun experience to. I guess that's a great first time meeting you and I together kind of
The
situation.
chaos that we
Mhm.
create is
That we
fantastic.
imbued, yeah, and because it reminded me, it's been a little less than a year now since we did those storytelling shows, but
Yeah.
in New York, which were a ton of fun. But um, I'm wondering too, like you were talking about the tired thing, and that people who are into the metaphysical and all that kind of stuff are just more tired. I mean, I've just been always been kind of a tired guy since I had like what is it, mononucleosis when I was in high school, sophomore in high school, and ever since then I've just been kind of like, oh, I will sleep as long as you let me, kind of thing, right? So ever since then, I mean, I always liked sleep before that, but so I've always just kind of thought that I think they talk about Epstein-Barr being a result of having mono when you're or like chronic fatigue
Ah.
syndrome kind of thing, but nonetheless, I've always once I discovered coffee, I loved it.
Yeah,
But
I can't function without my coffee in the morning. But I'm like a little bumblebee.
yeah, you were just nonstop.
And I'm 60 and I keep thinking like, is it that? And then now that I'm back in LA, I go to hot yoga every day, which is like 90 minutes. Like it's a tough class. But I am not a napper because I sleep at night. My head hits everybody I know has sleep issues, apparently except you and me. But everyone has some sort of sleep issue and I just am out like no problem. And then I get up 10 times, whether it's to go to the bathroom, or yesterday I had to usher a spider out of the house. And
You woke up in the middle of the night because you sensed a spider somewhere. I could just see like you're just like in the dead of sleep and you're just like, there's a spider. Like you knew it. Like you just knew there was a spider or what?
I forgot that it was the strawberry moon, and I was going to put out a glass of water out by the window. And so I got up, and then the spider was just there. And then this is so ridiculous. This is real. You're getting real authentic Rontowski. So I have a jar that I put over the bugs, and then I slide a reference part under with a joke on it so they can enjoy the joke as I walk them out.
You
But but I couldn't tell if it was a black widow, so I had to like there was a little navigating, but it was not.
Oh, okay, good. I was gonna say you couldn't tell if it was a black widow, so they like the jokes that are really dirty.
Yes,
So
I had the wrong joke.
yeah, it's like there's a thing too, like, well, if there's a piece of paper around your house or anything like that, it's gonna have a joke written on it.
Yes.
Karen, you are nonstop, which is kind of, like we're talking about, like whether it's like getting your. It's no surprise to me that your tour is booked into next spring. You usually have your podcast finished recording by like July for the
No
year.
more podcasts though.
Oh
I
yeah, because the Paranormal Karen has now. What do they call it? Sunsetting, right, or
am I
whatever,
something?
or retiring, or
Yes.
letting it go off into it.
Something had to give.
Yeah,
Something had to give.
because of the because I mean, well, your travel has been, is it the most intense it's ever been for you?
Yeah. And it's like I said, I think I'm home 3 weeks, and I still had gigs in LA and driving and Palm Springs and stuff. And yeah, but now it's almost every weekend. And the hard part, which I hate to say though, is my mom is still alive in upstate New York. So it's a lot of like fly and do a gig, go visit mom, do another gig, and then go home. So it's like when my mom passes, that's going to be a little easier. But no, I'm already A-list supreme dragon Hoopa, whatever at Southwest. Like, yeah, it's a lot.
Well, I mean, it's amazing you have time to even contemplate the future of humanity. Uh, when Karen and I were talking, she's like, "Oh, I got a lot of crazy conspiracy theories now." So, and I'm like, "Okay, here we go." I mean, we can we can get into some of those if you really wanted to, but because I am
I
interested
think
about the
that was the
tarot
big one.
too.
There was that the world is changing so we can see aliens soon.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I did go and see the movie Disclosure Day recently.
Oh,
The
what
big
did you think?
Spielberg movie that came out. I won't give anybody any spoilers, so don't worry about it. I thought it was a good film. Now, I'm going to withhold any more opinion because it gives away details
Okay.
for people. I think it's worth seeing, and I don't want to really talk about it beyond that necessarily. Have you seen it?
No, I'll wait for it to hit the little screen.
The streamers, yeah. I wanted to see this on the big screen, and I'm glad I did. But nonetheless, the disclosure thing is interesting. I mean, because I disclosure, I guess, has been happening in a very slow way from the government for since 2017. Um, so I guess about 8, 9 years now. I think we're going on, and disclosure has been happening from just individuals for
Ever.
forever. And it's interesting what we as a community decide that we give credence to or credibility to, right? Collectively. Okay, that was weird. So Zoom completely just shut down over here on me. I've been using
I,
Zoom like a lot the last 2 days, and it's been completely fine. And then I get Karen and her 750
7:45.
745 hertz or whatever, or
I don't know,
brain
but it's
waves.
impressive. I'm putting it
Yeah.
on my dating app profile.
Oh, I mean, that should definitely, and any guy who might even have an inkling as to what that means, I think there you have like a match immediately.
I
I,
actually was going to close that door, and just every time we come back on, there would be more dirty clothes hanging.
oh, that would have been
Like,
funny. Just like, and I'm like, wait, and just slowly I'm like, oh wait, hold on a second. People are watching, so you can watch the podcast on Spotify, by the way. So anyway, sorry about that, Karen.
That's
We were
okay. I just recently, my Wi-Fi wasn't working, and then I found out I had put foil on it to keep the EMF off, and that's what was wrong.
you.
For months now, it's been terrible. And I was
Oh
like,
my
oh,
God.
I
Well, the
should
good
ask
news
if,
is foil, I guess, blocks some of it.
yeah, I'm getting a little EMF nutty. I have EMF blankets and I have little EMF hats that I
What about
sleep in.
the EMF that emanates from your body? What are you doing? Are you worried about that EMF?
I'm not worried about that one, especially now that I'm at 7:45.
Okay, okay. Because it's funny because we were just at this presentation, Matthew Jackson was talking. It was talking a lot about EMF and how even the world has its own EMF.
Mhm.
Reading and all this kind of stuff. But in regards to like ITC and trying to understand what ITC means for the future communication, et cetera. But I think we were talking about like the credibility. Like, who do we decide to give credibility to when it comes to disclosure and things like that? And a lot of people want it to be from like the New York Times, or they don't believe anything until it's CNN or whoever reporting it. Um, Meanwhile, all the because there's a ton. I mean, I'm sure you might know this, Karen, but from the time that Paranormal Karen had originally started, up until about, I mean, let's just say even 4 or 5 years ago, the number of paranormal podcasts has,
Mhm.
you know, I don't even know if I don't know the word for it. Like it's like what is tripled or quadrupled, but by like 25,000. Um, so, which to me is a good sign that people are talking and people want to talk about all this weird stuff, right? And I think, I'd love it for a year or two that we're seeing aliens, that everybody's seeing aliens.
And I think that's where we're going. I don't know if it's just spaceships or the actual aliens, but I know there was a big hubbub. I can never tell now that everything has an algorithm. I'm like, I don't know how much in touch I am, or if somebody's just feeding me the same thing over and over. But there were all these reports, and they were actually I think they were, it actually was in a newspaper somewhere, that they pulled in all these pastors and said, listen, you got to tell all your people these are demons. Which I think it's a 50-50. I don't think they're demons, but I think good, bad, 50-50 and neutral. But, we're taught, somebody said to me, why? And I was like, because the whole religious story falls apart once you put in the aliens. Then wait a minute, what happened there? Why didn't you tell us about this? That kind of thing. So I think they're tiptoeing us to it, and it's just eventually going to be that you can't ignore it.
Yeah, and I believe that report is accurate actually. Now, who from the government, it's the question of like, it's not like the Secretary of State called everybody and said, okay, here's the Pope, here, here's the Dalai Lama, like,
Yeah.
um but yeah, that report I believe to be accurate reporting. And of course it's like, but it's, to me, it's one of those things where if aliens have been here, or they're interdimensional and or physical in nature or whatever, they're, if they were evil and bad, we would have been toast a
Hmm.
long, we would have been gone a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
And
not worried about like this whole demon narrative, trying to fit it into the Bible and all this other kind of stuff. It's, to me, it's pretty exhausting.
yes.
And of course they do that because whether people want to admit it or not, we live in like a Christian, like essentially a Christian military state, and
Uh-huh.
so I think they're going to frame them as demons. We need more military to protect you and your godlike people who love God like we do from these demons, right? And then it just keeps going further and further. The pendulum keeps swinging further and further that direction.
And I have been saying for years, it's really interesting if you think about where we came in as kids, where all you had were those Time Life books about the unexplained, to now where everything's kind of out there. Like, it's like I have to laugh that a lot of, like, you're not a conspiracy theorist, but I take that title. A lot of these things, especially with the government, are happening now, whether you're talking about Epstein Island or whatever. But it's also getting so blurry that who do you believe? They're like, really, I don't even know anymore. There's so much information, and AI is getting hard to tell. But for years, I've been saying we're this there's a weird Christian takeover that is coming, and it's not regular people that are Christians going to church. It's the did you hear that explosion?
Yeah, it's like the JD Vances of the world and Peter
Yes,
Thiel's,
yes,
the
yes,
Antichrist tech billionaire
and
nut jobs.
the Erica Kirks and the whatever's going on at Trump, whether they had the big guy saying there nowhere in the Constitution does it say there's a separation between church and state. Like I feel like that's I watched that because in Pennsylvania, it's illegal. There's a tarot reader that is going to court because it is illegal to read tarot there, and they arrested her. And she's all the way to the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. And the guy that's booking me was like, we better look this up. And under the form of entertainment, we can get away with it because I play Pennsylvania a lot. But we have to be careful, and like I never felt like that.
How is that case still? Why does it have to go all the way to the Supreme Court? How is it not just settled immediately at the lower courts?
You know what? It's a long, long story. She would be a great guest for your podcast. If I'll find her on TikTok and let you know. She's doing amazing work. I can't remember her name. I hate that I can't remember her name.
That's maddening to me.
Yeah, she owns a crystal shop, but I looked it up, and there's still 3 states, and one of them is Oklahoma. I almost pulled out the cards when I was working in Dubai, and then I go, you better look up if this is okay here. And it was not. So it's a weird thing that in this day and age, you have to look at a deck of cards and say, can I have this out?
Yeah, that is wild to me. We're going to take a quick break real quick. I've lost track of time, but I'm sure we're due for one. Just a reminder, patreon.com/Ryan Singer, $3 a month, no commercials ever. And there's also other stuff over there. I got Karen Rontowski. I want to talk more about tarot and something that you mentioned about more and more people are becoming interested in tarot. I want to talk about why you think that is. As soon as we come back from this first quick little break.
The coroner says Bonaventure died sometime Tuesday night.
Did you murder Bonaventure?
No!
From the director of The Last Exorcism.
Winthrop is not a murderer. And from the moment I met Bonaventure, you could tell something was very off.
Based on the podcast Knife Point Horror.
We are surrounded by evil incarnate. We need to stop it.
Have
a lockbox.
Lockbox. In theaters this Friday.
And we're back. I've got Karen Rontowski with me. We're talking about the one time, like the fact that you even have to think twice before you pull a deck out. A tarot deck is wild, is crazy to me that it's the year 2026 and we have that. Earlier you mentioned that more and more people are becoming interested in tarot, and it's like this interesting convergence of things that are happening with the Psychic Stand-Up Tour. I'm curious as to why you think that tarot has become on the radar for more people.
Well, I think the internet has made it bigger. I think spirituality is coming into its time. I do think spirituality is sort of coming to an apex right now, and it's probably the other side. It's going to drop off a little bit, but I'm not sure. I think I kind of split the tarot world and the paranormal world, and now there's a strange split where like a couple of tarot readers on TikTok who were famous. I don't know exactly who they were, but there's big talk because they decided no more tarot. I'm a Christian now, which tarot is not a religion. It's a psychological tool that can be used for divination. But for some reason, there's this, it's almost like it's become on the battlefield. But I think tarot is, first of all, Carl Jung's archetypes are the first 22 cards in the tarot deck. So it's completely related to therapy, which I kind of feel like therapy is now shifting a lot. It's becoming a little magical because people, it happens faster. I have a lot of clients where they'll go to their therapist and the therapist will say, it's time to call your psychic because I can kind of say things they can't or make them feel better in a different way. So I think it's integrating into how we get healthy. Just a weird tidbit, but the major arcana, sometimes they will talk about in Hollywood, there's a book called The Writer's Journey, which is actually the Fool's Journey. But if you take the first 22 cards and you go with a movie, you can see exactly what's going to happen because it is the fool's journey. Ron Howard says there's only one story, and that is the fool's journey of the tarot. But I think it just is, for any other reason, I'm not sure. But I will say, I feel like why things are going well with my show is two things. There aren't a lot of places that witchy people can go and laugh. You can take a class, you can go to meditation, but there aren't a lot of places to just kind of let your hair down and, fuck these people or whatever, you know what I mean? Like whatever we're talking about. And also, there's another guy that does a great show. He's a little bit more of a mentalist. And I think people go to see him because they want to be in awe. And I think the people that come to see me are like me. They're you know what I mean? They may have a secret tarot deck that their family doesn't want them to talk about or something. So I kind of think that, and lastly, and then I'll let you talk on your own podcast. There's we're really in the age of the middle-aged women. The zodiac and the astrology is all talking about, it's now about middle-aged women, whether it's entertainment or leading or whatever. We're really shifting into that matriarchy, and I think that intuition and psychic stuff just falls a little more into that category.
Yeah, well, I mean, that sounds good to me. Um, I mean, it's interesting too that the fool's journey, the hero's journey, whether it's the archetypes, and you got Joseph Campbell. I mean, I don't know. I feel like this whole thing, to me, especially lately, it's all come down to like, okay, what's the story here, and and how am I participating in my own story? And I think that's
So
maybe what's happening with when someone's getting a tarot reading, they're finding out how are you participating in your own story right now, and potentially what are the choices you get to make in the story that you're living. And it's just another way for us to have insight into our journey. And and then I don't know, and if we live an interesting enough or fulfilling enough story, we can hopefully share that, and we get to share other people's stories along the way, as long as we're participating in our own, because we're going to be meeting all these wild characters on the way, aren't we?
yeah. Yeah. And it's going to fall apart and then come back together, and we're going to be misled, and then it comes back around. And I once did a Google search just out of curiosity. I kind of asked, why is it more women than men participate in psychic or stuff? And there was a really great article written about kind of encompassing everything, which is, voodoo and all this stuff. It's always the oppressed. Like that is the only way they could find that women or minorities could find power, was kind of through the supernatural. If you have this big kind of, almost what we're going through now, you have this fascist state with a boot on your neck. You got to go with what works for you. And that is intuition, or hoodoo or voodoo or whatever. It works. And this is the thing I miss so much about the original TikTok, because I had no idea. When I used to go on it before, there was all kinds of people. There were Mexican people, African American people, Native American people, people from other countries. The whole thing came through the feed. And I think 80% of who I was following was African American women that were talking about all these spiritual things that I had never even heard of. And as soon as it went to American, it's all white people now. It's wild.
Yeah, they put a message saying, "Oh, remember that when they hit that day where they like, we'd like to thank wonderful President Trump for blah blah blah." I was like, that's the day I knew. I was like, for me to delete the app.
Yeah.
And so but I also didn't have like a huge thing. I wasn't, it wasn't a tool for me that was like actually at a level where I was like, oh, I don't know if I can get rid of this, because this is how people are connected to me, to hear or see me do shows, etc. But yeah, that was wild when that happened. And I know, because there was another friend of mine who just pretty much made their living from TikTok doing lives and things like that. And I know that after that happened, everything changed. So it's amazing too, like how the Trump administration specifically going back to 2016, even like did such a good job of just appropriating conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
And they appropriated the entire conspiracy theory community with the QAnon angle, and and now like anyone who was a hardcore conspiracy theorist is pretty much a Trumper still, because
Not me, but
there's
yes,
nothing
yes.
that he can do that isn't part of the grand plan, as Bruce
Mm-hmm.
Wayne is trying to save Gotham City, but all the crazy woke liberals are following around, the Joker and being maniacs, apparently.
Yeah,
It's
I
pretty
think that's
wild.
starting to crack. I think that's starting to crack. I
Well, I
think
think
that
with the Epstein list and everything, and then when he came out and said, because you were talking about conspiracy theories, and the Epstein list obviously was a conspiracy theory, and now it's proven to be a full-on conspiracy,
hmm
and yet there's still been no repercussions from that, at
you
least in
know
the United
it.
States.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. I don't know. Well, I think Jared Kushner is going to be the next Epstein. I think, and then all of a sudden they wanted to buy an island with tunnels in it. She's
In
talking about buying.
Iberia.
Yeah, like that was like I figured he was going to be that for a while. But you know what's interesting is I kind of feel like the old conspiracies for me are not quite aligning anymore. Like I watch a lot of political YouTube and I really enjoy most of it, but everybody likes to go, they want us split, they want us split, they want us not getting along, or they say, well, when people leave MAGA, shouldn't we welcome them in? And I'm like, there's no club, there's no admission, there's no membership, they can do whatever they want. And people, I think this conspiracy is they want us to believe we are split. We're not really split. We're not having a civil war. I'm not hanging out with MAGA. Everybody is pointed at the White House, but they still want us to believe we're split. And that is one of those pieces of information that I hear people repeat and repeat and repeat. And I keep wanting to say, if they want, you keep thinking the CIA is, or whoever, I kind of feel when we used to say that is the Epstein, whatever that whole thing is, Mossad or IDF or whatever, all of that. They want us to think we're split because then we will hate our neighbors, but we're not. So it's kind of like when something gets leaked from the CIA, I'm like, I don't think anything's getting leaked that they don't want us to see.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's passing protocols to a certain degree to even be able to be leaked. But, and I think also people forget that, at the end of the day, the government, the CIA, intelligence, everything is so compartmentalized. There's maybe a handful of people who they know everything. They don't. And like a lot of these people, they don't know anything
By
except
design,
yeah,
especially. Yeah.
yeah. And, yeah, and for me, the conspiracy is potentially the fake disclosure. The Christian, the demon stuff, and the aliens are here. We're going to protect you from them. That Werner von Braun warned against on his deathbed and said that they were going to use this technology. It's all these government contractors, these private corporations who are making all the money. It's actually funny because there's a guy in my hometown who's he's in government. I think is he the senator? Or no, he's a congressperson. Mike Turner. He used to be the mayor of Dayton, Ohio. Anyway, he's a total dirtbag. He's the guy he's one of like 2 or 3 people who like single-handedly or triple-handedly have prevented disclosure from happening in Congress. And he prevents whistleblower protections from getting passed as well, which a lot of these people want to come forward, but they still don't have protections even 9 years later. And
yeah,
but because he's on the payroll of the defense contractors who are all based here in Dayton, Ohio, because of Wright Pat Air Force Base, right? But what's interesting too is, okay, let's say this happens, disclosure starts. Can you trust it? Can you believe what's happening? And there's people out there who have been involved in disclosure for 35 plus years saying that the fake disclosure has already started. And so which one of these like former spooks can you even believe when they go on their book tours? Like Lou Elizondo, I just don't believe a word that guy says. I don't care about.
Is that the guy that had all the long curly hair?
No, I don't think
No.
he did. He's the guy who leaked the 2017 stuff to the New York
Oh,
Times.
okay.
But
Yeah,
and
and
then he, yeah,
everybody on the TikTok is a former CIA agent. I'm adding that to my resume because
right.
apparently you could just say that now.
And there's that old line too, like once you're in the CIA, you're never truly out of the CIA, right?
Right.
Um, it is funny though, like the things that, and I do it as well, and everybody does it. We parrot things that we hear, and then the signal gets stronger. MAGA is very good about parroting, whatever it is that Trump posts on his social media website.
Mhm.
Liberals are the same way with parroting certain things. And then the signals get stronger and stronger. And I'm with you on that. The illusion of the division illusion. And you couple that with the illusion of scarcity, which is created. And so now you have people who are against you because you're divided. And now you have an illusion of not enough resources. So you got to make sure the people that are against you, they're trying to get your resources too, right? And so that's how we kind of, keep each other, we, they, I part of me just wants to start saying we instead of they. That's what we want you to believe,
Yeah.
instead of they, because saying they also buys into the separation of it all
Yeah,
to a certain degree.
I feel like there's a couple of things. I feel like I'm growing food here. I feel like I'm saving stuff for my apartment complex. I feel like if we have a we have a earthquake or something, I feel like nobody's paying attention. I do think we are going to, when I say oil problem, I think people do not understand what's coming. And I hate to be, I got the electric bike, I got everything ahead. There's nothing we can do, but I am very worried about that. But the but I think they do want us scared. They do want us so scared all the time. Did you see? I have no idea why this is one of my favorite movies, and I just leave it on in the background. There were two. One of them was Signs by
Oh, M. Night
and
Shyamalan.
I just loved that movie, and I cannot stand Mel Gibson, but I will watch him in that movie. I just thought it was beautiful. And the other one is Leave the World Behind. Did you see it?
No, I don't know
So
what that movie
Leave
is.
the World Behind. I think it's on Prime. You have to see it, and you have to text me as soon as you're done. It's Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke, and it's about kind of if the grid went down. And there's I won't tell you, but I don't know why I enjoy it, but I enjoy it, and it's terrible. It's nothing to enjoy,
This
but it
is so
makes me
funny to me.
feel
Like
better.
it makes. Well, I mean, Karen, there seem to be these there seem to be these pillars happening here. Like you're growing your own food. You've got a movie on in the background constantly about how the grid goes down. I mean, are these things connected?
That electric bike. I go out and pay for gas. That's another thing. Have you noticed since the war in Iran, there's all these different gas stations, like Murray's Gas or Pimplehead gas station. Like all of a sudden, there's 1,000
I haven't noticed
different.
that. Are some of them going out
There,
of business or something, and then popping up as mom and pop shops?
they are popping up as mom and pop, or they're taking different names or something. There's so many different types of gas stations in LA and Van Nuys right now. I'm like, who just keeps opening gas stations right now and not even under the same name? So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if they're real. Maybe that's part of the illusion. When you were talking about the illusion, we also do not know how good holograms are right now. I swear to you. I know that sounds crazy, but I was thinking that the other night because, I've fallen for some AI stuff. Some of it's terrible, but some of it's good. And I believe Art Bell always used to say, the military and the government are 20 years ahead of you. You're not going to, they're 20 years ahead. That's it, period. And I am just in that space of when are we really going to start seeing things that we don't understand? Because I feel like this, even this being tired, I feel like there's kind of Mandela effects and things going on or timeline moves that are kind of crazy right now. I can't put my finger on it, but sometimes I'm literally like, did that really happen? What, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm not making sense now.
Well, no, I mean, the hologram debate or discussion is, it's big in the world of disclosure because, how can you believe what you're seeing in the sky potentially? Right. And,
Yeah.
and it ties into the chemtrails, which I don't get into chemtrails. I remember back in the day being into chemtrails, and I'm just not. To me, chemtrails have been debunked enough to where I just moved on with my life.
And you think that chemtrails are the government just trying to make it rain and stuff?
Well, here's the
Or
thing
they
about
are?
chemtrails. These people that are poisoning the air, what air are they breathing?
Oh, okay. I
Why
see
are
what
they
you mean.
poisoning their own air supply? You know what I mean? Have they
Yeah.
they've all been vaccinated, so then you have to go another level. Like, well, they've all been vaccinated against the chemicals that are in the chemtrails. It's like, well, they're poisoning the air they also have to breathe. So what's the end game here, right? And some people will be
I
like, well, there's a chemical in it that, is good that's used in holographic technology, and that's what
Oh.
they're preparing the air for, right?
They have never interested me that much, but I did think it was to do with the weather. I thought they were like trying to make it rain where they needed water or
Well, they
something.
do see there is cloud seeding, which they
Maybe
do,
that's, yeah, I thought
which
it
they
was more.
try, but obviously it doesn't even work all the time when like, it's not even, I mean, because there's been areas, California, for example, I think, what, 6 7 years ago, or even more recent than that, there's been like long prolonged periods of drought in different parts of this country where it's not something that even can be fully relied upon to even be to
Right.
work at all. And I mean, I don't know, like, to think that we're not going to try to affect the environment to try to, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, improve our situation would be wild, because that's what human beings have done. That's why we terraform, and, we think we're making the world a better place for ourselves while we forget about everything else, right? But
Yeah.
it's kind of, we have these blinders on. But for me, like, just because, there's people in my life that I'm very close to that have been in the past, and even at other times, completely swallowed by the conspiratorial world. And
It's easy to go down any
it
rabbit hole. The
is.
other day, a woman came on TikTok and she said a dog bit her head and her hair wasn't supposed to grow back. And so she put onions on her head and her hair grew back. And I immediately followed her. And then I put onions on my head. And then I, who is
It's
this woman? Who am I
that's
listening to?
That's really funny. I mean, like, there's actually, well, a lot of the conspiracies too, just for me, they go back, they end up sliding into a really dark anti-Semitic, you know,
Yeah,
pool
yeah.
of water.
And that's a see, that's what they're doing. And I think this is reflected, and I say this all the time in my readings. So you have the Jewish people and you have Israel, or I say Netanyahu, and then you have the Palestinian people and you have Hezbollah. There's four players in that argument, not two. People put them in two and pick your side. And I feel like this is American thinking, or maybe it's everywhere, I don't know. But people will call me and go, am I going to meet the love of my life, or am I going to die alone? And I'm like, you might die in a mall. What are you worried about? Right? Like, there's just this black and white, and there is no gray area at
Yeah.
all. And I'm always, should I, that's the government trying to stop me, Ryan. That
Yeah,
you're
I'm surprised
trying,
they haven't shut my computer down again. Don't tell people they're not going to die alone, Karen. Jesus.
but I mean, it's like, should I live my dream or just get a shitty job? Do both. Why is this, everything is separated like that in the extremes, and I can't stand it.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And we're going to take one quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this illusion of division, because I think it's a huge thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it everything or is it nothing? It's got to be one or the other, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be right back with the GOAT Karen Rontowski, talking about the state of the modern world. And I just want to get her sense on, like, moving forward, like, what she's doing other than growing her own food and putting onions on her head. That I wonder if she grew those onions before she put them on her head, because if she's using store-bought onions to put on her head, everybody knows that's an EMF booster, and they don't want you to know that. We're going to be right back.
I did the research on that, and it was a real thing. But I was like, what am I doing? Who is this woman?
We're okay, so we're back. My grandma
Okay.
used to love onions, and on my mom's side, and there's a lot of things that I will say about my grandmother on my mom's side that I'm not so sure they're real, or how I came into the information, or if it was just exaggeration. Because when I'm a kid, if a grown up exaggerates to me, maybe being funny in a nuanced way that I'm not aware of yet, I just believe they're giving me information. And one of those pieces of information was someone told me, oh, your grandmother eats an entire onion every day, and that's why her skin looks so good.
Oh, well, that might be two different pieces of information put together. But you know what I mean? Like, a lot of times that's just DNA. But I did do the research on that, and there's sulfur in onions, they make sulfur, they make onion shampoo. I didn't know. So was making a good point, but it was how fast the onions were on my head, where I was like, "What are you doing?" Um, but I'm big on the holistic stuff, and that could actually be true because it's the sulfur that wakes up the hair follicles. But also, when you're sick, put slice an onion, put it next to your bed, and watch how fast you get unsick from breathing.
Oh,
It's
that's good. Oh, yeah.
antibacterial. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of wisdom in some of these old-timey things as well
Yeah.
when it came to like natural remedies and holistic. And I remember many, many years ago, my mom was into the holistic scene. I mean, we're talking about like, the late 80s,
Yeah.
and early 90s. And that's when you were like full on kook city if you went to a quack, right? Like
If you had onions on your head,
yeah, what a
now it's
yeah,
fine.
like, oh, there's a witch running around with onions on her head. It's like she's trying to take your loosh. Um, Someone asked me about loosh the other day, and I was like, I implore you to please read the Robert Monroe books because he's the one who came up with the word, and it's not the reptilians stealing your life force. Please.
Oh, that was connected to reptilians. I'll tell you, have been I don't have a religious affiliation, but if it would, I would be Gnostic. I think the Gnostics were onto something.
I'm a little I'm glad you brought up the Gnostics because they're one of these really interesting things, or segments of whatever esotericism that I'm like, oh, I gotta research more about them because it's like not because I want to be a Gnostic, but because I'm like, oh, that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
And I always forget. So break down Gnosticism a little bit for me. That the Bible is
Basically,
exactly everything Jesus said is exactly true, or what is it?
yes, I'm a big fan of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and I feel like that's your male and female side working together. But I am kind of a fan of Jesus, but I can't. The Bible is too much, and Christians are too much. So the Gnostics believe that everything Jesus said was correct. Everything from the Bible was written by Satan. That there's a higher God or something like that. There's a better explanation of that part, but that I can say, if you're ever really interested, there's this guy that does these great videos on it. But in other words, Adam and Eve are in the Garden of Eden, and the snake, the serpent, is actually God, and he's like, "This is the tree of knowledge. Why don't you guys eat? You know yourselves, you'll know me, right?" And then Satan's like, "Oh no, 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 don't know yourselves. That's wrong. Throw them out." They talk about how he says there are no other gods but me, and then he says don't have any other gods before me. They almost take all the contradictions of the Bible and say, no, that's the bad guy, that's not the good guy. And as much as I hate to put the world into bad guy good guy stuff, but all the things in the Bible that you're like, what is that about, makes sense now that there's somebody, there's, they do sort of they do have that original belief sort of the matrix and the archons, and it gets quite complicated. But basically that idea that Jesus was saying the kingdom of God is within you, don't go to church, it's right here, you got it right here, I'm in you, that kind of stuff. And then it all sort of makes sense, and it does come into the idea of a loving God, not a
An all-powerful, vengeful.
Fascist God, yeah.
fascist god. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I understand what you're saying about good guy, bad guy. Like it's life is much more complicated than that. But for the simplicity of a story, and for, I guess, information and maybe life lessons to be told through storytelling, the it all becomes it becomes Lord of the Rings as opposed to like a children's book, right? Or I guess
Yeah.
you could even say Lord of the Rings was a children's book, but it becomes like a 12-volume tome as opposed to just a story or book that someone can read.
Yeah. And
So yeah.
they talk about Mary Magdalene being his wife, and he actually has a daughter named Sarah. But they also say when it says in the Bible he kissed her on the mouth, that is your male and female side of your brain coming together. So sort of spiritually coming together. So it's he was his wife, but also that's you inside of you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's been without giving too much away, I will just let like there's been some ITC research that I've done on a particular investigation where the name Sarah has come up a bunch, and we
Mm.
think specifically, possibly, potentially related to something like this that you're talking about. So yeah, definitely worth me diving further into. So
Yeah.
let's put a bow on this by talking a little bit about the division thing again, because I don't want people to walk out of here and think or walk out of this virtual room that we've created and be hopeless. I mean, because humans still have to human. It doesn't matter when aliens are walking around.
Right,
Humans,
right.
humans still got a human. So it's like you still got to eat, sleep, and poop. Okay, so um, we are going to adjust. I think I predict rapidly to the new normal, just because that's what humans do. We survive, and I don't know what it will take for the perceived division wall to come down, but I imagine it'll be a celebratory day, much like the when the Berlin Wall fell.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know what it's going to take, but I mean, are you hopeful of that happening, or what's your sense of that?
Yes, in fact, it's kind of funny that we're taping this. I don't know if this is coming out before the 4th of July, but there's supposed to be like drastic changes astrologically of what's going on, in which, sometimes I think all these people have been saying July 4th or July 10th, huge earthquake in California, everybody get out. And I think sometimes when everybody focuses on one prediction like that, they actually change the timeline. And then the universe is like, we're not doing it on the day you told us to do it. But I am optimistic. I don't know what the change will be, but I do think it's coming. And I think it's kind of, I don't know how to say this, but I feel like the mask is off. The mask is off. It's just those last few people that are coming in. And you know, I'm I just really think I keep picturing everyone going at the White House. They say this happened before and the rich were dragged through the streets and flogged, and I just think that people have to take over, and that's all we're waiting for.
Wow. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So an actual, unlike January 6th,
Yes.
when I mean, I can't believe I'm getting ready to say this sentence, but God bless those people on January
Yeah.
6th. But like, it's kind of like bless their heart. I mean, they were fed information and they were activated. It's funny now because the QAnon people and the Trumpers and things, they used to say that those were all like liberal like plants and things like
Yeah,
that,
and
right?
FBI
And
agents, not
yeah, and
FBI.
FBI agents. And then when the weaponization fund was happening, it was no longer like there was no complaint about a bunch of liberals and FBI agents getting all that money, right? From anyway, the point is those people were given a specific messaging over and over and over again. They were activated in a way to believe that something had happened that I believe did not happen, as far as like whatever, right? They people are always like they got to let us know about the MK Ultra program, and they're activating back when they would activate agents. It's like people have we've seen small examples of when like a large group of people were activated already, and I believe January 6th is one of them. I think people on the other side would probably say some of the protests are an example of people, the liberals getting activated, right? And so it's like sifting through all the bullshit, figuring out, okay, when do you actually really need to take to the streets and stand up for and come together as a people to fight for what's right? And, right versus wrong, there's gray area, etc. But at the end of the day, we ultimately know in our heart of hearts what we should be allowing to happen and what we should not be allowing to happen as a group of people.
Yeah.
And it's easy to look at those things on paper, and to me, it's clearly defined. Um, when the groups of people, us, should be activated by by morality or wherever, whatever, right? So
Or
that
maybe it's just going to be through being poor. And another thing, I just want to throw this in. Or how about nobody goes to work?
see
How
that,
about
that yeah,
you
general
stop the country?
strike, the general
Yep.
strike, which has been some real communist socialist propaganda, the general strike out there. I love that. I love the idea of a general strike. I mean, not a big change to my life when we do a general strike. I guess if you can call it work. But yeah, I definitely think that's one of the most effective tools that a population can wield, for
And we'll
sure.
hope, I don't know. I really do think, whatever it's going to be with this, I really think first of all, I think he's crazy. He's got dementia. So now you're adding evil and dementia and you're getting the Strait of Hormuz closed. I really think gonna, that's gonna come to roost. And as much as I think that was the one that's gonna push people over the edge. That's where people are gonna be like, hey, I can't get to work. I want to work, I can't get to work. That's gonna be the biggest problem. And I don't know how we overcome that, but I unfortunately we all have to break for everybody to be like, all right, now we're done. Now we're, because the Epstein thing didn't do it. And I can't. Anyways, I'm getting way off on a tangent. But yes, we'll put a bow on it. Yes, I think
Well, you
people
would have
need to.
thought that the Epstein thing would have done it.
Yeah, and to this day, there's a very interesting podcast called The Necessary Conversation, and the two kids are liberal and the two parents are MAGA, and the parents are so brainwashed in their racism, and there is so like it's on. You think the show is fake if you just turn it on, and then the more you watch it, you're like, these people live in Oklahoma. They don't leave their house. They have the answer to everything. Bomb the hell out of the Iranians because they're not white. And it's like, whoa. And those are the people that are going to have to be like, hey, my social security check didn't come. Or why can't we afford heat? And unfortunately, I think everything has to break before everybody goes, this government's enough.
Yeah, I kind of remember you talking about this a few years back.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember like after, God, I mean, I think it was after everything had opened up after COVID was like quote unquote over. You're like, oh no, it doesn't get better. And I was like, Karen, that is not what I want to be hearing right now. And you're like, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's not going to get better quite yet. And you're just kind of sitting there thinking like, well, what does that even mean? And then I think we've seen what that means.
Yeah.
We have 100% seen what that means, and Rontowski nailed it. Was right on about that. You can probably go back to 2021 and you can hear that conversation from 5 years ago. You talking about that. Yeah, it's just wild. I mean, I do think, yeah, that's why I love stand-up comedy and going to comedy shows. Shed the MAGA, shed the woke snowflake. Yeah, all those labels can be shed. I mean, obviously I've been working on this premise and I don't know if it's good enough to work, but about how like, I feel like being a comedian now is like being a lawyer back when ambulance chasing became a thing. Right. So now there's all these billboard comedians and all kinds of stuff, right? There's like comedians on, bus benches, the grifters, the ones who are chasing the ambulances, they're chasing the dollar, right? And so politics have come into comedy in a way in the last like 3 or 4 years in a way that I think is at least unprecedented at its scale. I think
Mm-hmm.
clearly have done this in the past, but not at the scale they were doing it, to try to profiteer off of, this illusion of division. And it's almost like I don't feel like it's cool to be a comedian. And I'm just like, I've never felt that in my entire life.
I feel exactly the same way, and you know what? And I'll just put this in because it just, I, I get crazy that I feel like most people in this country don't care about women getting sexually assaulted. I just, nobody cared what Trump said. I mean, Jimmy Fallon has on that guy. Nobody cares. And you are correct. The worst representation of comedy is now in front. And I'm not a roast person, but what I saw from the Kevin Hart roast was disgusting and not funny. None of it was funny.
No.
Not even maybe I think Chelsea Handler was the only one that actually made me laugh. But it was just the worst is out there. And it's funny because, when I do my show, I'm very aware that this is a safe space for people who maybe can't put the metaphysical in their life. And they're becoming, whenever I'm done with a show, the wait staff is like, you have the nicest people ever. And it's like, yeah, I'm very aware now of that what this is. But I don't know how to put it, but this is a good energy, and I'm not going to walk out there and ruin it. You know what I mean? Everybody's on the same page. If I make a slight political joke, we're all on the same page. But I'm trying to write jokes about forgiveness, and I'm trying to write jokes about being vulnerable and stuff that if I have now my voice is being heard. It wasn't just out there. And I want to bring things so that when people leave the show, they really go, I feel so much better now. She's right. Or that is how I feel.
And I can guarantee you, I can give you a Ryan Singer guarantee, which I think that's a phrase I just coined for the first time ever. And I can give you a Ryan Singer guarantee that if you go see Karen perform, you will leave feeling better. I can guarantee you that. And if you don't,
you'll get
I
a
will.
big hug if you stay at the end.
Yeah, so you got to do it. I mean, Karen's the best. And I think you're right. I mean, that's what comedy's for, too. We laugh because we have no other choice sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
As a kind of a survival technique, a pressure dispenser or to release valve. But what does that mean? That means the comedy has released the tension and it's making us feel better and it's getting us through. And that's what comedy should be doing. And that's what I love about comedy. And that's what I won't give up about that on comedy. And Karen, you personify that and you nail that, better than anybody. So, it's always a pleasure to chat with you.
And with you, my friend.
And gosh, I'm gonna have to start writing. I'm gonna have to start I'm gonna have to start being like your personal assistant here soon. Just to Karen is taken off. I love it. So get to a show. Go to KarenRontowski.com. Go to PsychicStandup.com. Because these shows are selling out, so you need to get your tickets in advance. I can't recommend.
And we appreciate that as comics when you get your tickets in advance, because then we can know ahead of that.
Yeah, I mean, sitting in the green room and there's like one person in the showroom, and then you're like, I'll just sit in the green room for like 30 minutes, and hopefully when I open that door, there's enough people to where the owner doesn't say, we're gonna probably not do this tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you have tickets sold in advance, you leave the hotel with a little more pep in your step.
Yes.
Knowing that we're doing a show tonight, baby. It's definitely much appreciated. So, Karen, thanks again. Love you, buddy. And
thanks, Ryan.
As always, this has been great.
Now receiving frequency transmission.
For me, like I will have a dream about a series of things, and then that next day, those things will sort of pop up And sometimes it's like, oh, like I know I'm going to run into this person, so I'm dreaming about them the day before or whatever. You know, I was just flipping through my dream journal this morning. And when I opened the journal, I opened right to a page that was about Walton Goggins. And I actually met Walton Goggins yesterday. Which just felt like another weird, like, oh, cool, I need to keep dream journaling.
Transmission complete. Stay tuned to Spectrovision Radio. Stay.